Proportion, the size relationship of things. Variety, meaning we have multiple types of the element. Unity, meaning that we are using harmony when we are working today. We're going to use all three principles, unity, variety, and proportion, when we create our 1-point perspective drawing. To begin with, I'm going to introduce to you what a vanishing point is and show you how artists have used this in the past to create deep space. Here is an example of Pure Ives Broadway from Cortlandt Street and Maiden Lane in 1886. This is a print that was used. Notice how we have buildings that are going way back into the distance. They're creating deep space. This is being used through perspective. We also have this one, which is a famous one by Gustave Courbet. It's Paris Street, Rainy Day from 1877. Also notice we have the building structure here, and it goes way off into the distance to create deep space. We're going to create deep space today using 1-point perspective, meaning we're only going to go off into the distance in one spot. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First, we're going to take our ruler and we're going to line it up from corner to corner on our page. So you're going to create an X. So we're going to go like this. We're going to create an X. Then we're going to turn our ruler the other way, and we're going to create a second X, so it goes from corner to corner across our page. This dot right here in the middle, where these lines intersect, this is our vanishing point. That means that is where our eyes will recede back to. I'm going to take my ruler now, and I'm going to pull it down this way towards the bottom of my page, and I'm going to use it to create the side of my first building. So I'm going to pull it over here, and I'm going to draw a horizontal line to show where my first building is located, and then I'm going to bring that line, so it ends right here, and I'm going to bring it all the way up as high as I want my building to go, and I'm going to bring it across the side of the page, like so. I'm going to erase the line that goes through my building so it doesn't get too confusing, and then now this point and this point are going to come back to this point, which is my vanishing point, to create a line of buildings. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to line it up, whoop, and I'm going to line it up, and then now as many buildings as I want, I'm going to put in here, and how far apart I want them to be will depend on where my line goes. So if I want this building to be really narrow, I could put my line there, but I want it to be kind of wide, so I'm going to put the line here. If I want there to be a gap in between the buildings, I can put a close line really close. And then I can take this line, and I can have it come this way. And then again at the top. That way I have a gap between the buildings, like an alley that we could walk through. And I'm going to erase the lines that I don't want, which are these two. So, my first building. If I wanted to create a doorway, I would figure out where I want my line to go. But just like we know in space that as things get farther away from us, they get small. As they are closer to us, they are big. So I'm going to continue with that concept in my mind and continue to make more buildings. So, here comes another building. Erase the line that I don't need. And continue on. This building butts right up next to it. And if I want any of these buildings to have a roof to them, I simply just draw the triangle shape that I want the roof to be. And then this line also would connect back to my vanishing point. And then this would come off into the distance. And then I would erase what I don't want to keep. And I would continue on until I have a city. Now I'm going that I add in some details onto my building, like doors and windows. So to be able to do that, I would begin by identifying how tall I want my door to be. So I want a door to go right here, and I want it to be in the middle, and I want it to come up to about here. So then I would take my ruler, and I'm going to line it up so that it's in the middle, and it looks straight. And I'm going to take, and I'm going to bring both points to the vanishing point. So I'm going to just line it up, that it lines up nice. And I could draw the way over, but that's a lot of erasing. So I'm just going to draw to the butt edge of my building. And then I don't want it to touch the edges of the walls, so I'm going to bring it in slightly. I'm going to move my ruler out and do the same thing on this side. That way there would be room in the building for the hinges to go. And then now I can create a nice door handle. And if I wanted, I could create windows up here at the top. Maybe it's a store. So maybe it has one gigantic window, so that would line up here. And then however tall I want it to be. And leave room for a sign to tell what the building is. And then I want to make sure these are nice and straight. Same would be true if I wanted to add siding or bricks to the building. I would identify how far apart I want them to be. Being that we are doing perspective, we want it to be proportionate. So we want to make sure that we use a ruler to make those marks. So I'm going to make a mark every 1/4 of an inch. That way they're even and level. I don't have to worry about them being uneven. So every 1/4 of an inch, I'm making a mark. And then each of those are going to pivot down here. And so even if it was siding, I would just leave it. If it's bricks, I'll create counters. So I'm going to make my mark go way back. And if all of the buildings were the same texture, I can just continue on through. Make sure I'm lined up with my vanishing point and my point. I can take my ruler and go on through. Make sure you hold your ruler steady. You don't want your points to be wobbly. And I would continue doing this until I am happy with the amount of bricks or siding that I've created, or I've finished my drawing. By making sure that I keep it constant, I'm making sure I have proper proportion in my drawing, meaning everything looks right and normal together. And anything that I would get here in this wall, I would want to make sure I stop it. If I'm doing bricks, I would have it counter every little bit, so it would be offset. It would be pattern of bricks. And then I would come back in and I would offset my pattern. Because bricks are laid unevenly, that way they are sturdy and have a sturdy foundation. Get the look of bricks on the front of my building. And then I can continue adding space and details as I continue on backwards into my space. For this building here, I'd have to continue my 1/4 inch all the way down, so that way all the way down those buildings get the same siding. And if I want those to be brick, I continue on with my brick look. I would also take my ruler going this way, because if it's brick on the front, it's going to be brick on the side. And I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to bring it straight horizontally across. That way my bricks are even all the way across my building and my mason gets good credit. I'm going to bring it all the way across, and I'd continue to the very bottom. And again, like I was doing before, they would be alternating paths. So I'm going to create alternating marks. And I would continue on while I create my deep space drawing. Good luck. Anything you did on this side, you do the same on this side. So if I wanted a building to go over here, I still bring it back to my vanishing point. Feel free to look back at this video as much as you need to, so that you can create deep space drawings.